Hi there, everybody. My name is Mr. Tim, and I may look a little bit different today, but that's because we're coming at you with a new type of story time. We are in a virtual reality world, and I'm going to be telling you some stories and singing some songs with you in this virtual reality world. Now, today we're going to be talking about some mythology. We're going to talk about the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, but we're also going to talk about the Norse mythology that all that is based off of, or parts of it are based off of. So I hope you enjoy our story time today, and we are going to get started, alrighty? So today, our welcome song is a little bit different from the welcome songs we've done. All the songs we're singing today and poems that I'm telling do come from The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit. So today, we are going to be singing a song from The Hobbit together for our welcome song. Oh, what are you doing? Oh, where are you going? The ponies need chewing, the river is flowing. Oh, tra-la-la-la-lolly, here down in the valley. Oh, will you be staying or will you be flying? The ponies are straying, the daylight is dying. Oh, tra-la-la-la-lolly, here down in the valley. The fly would be folly, to stay would be jolly, and listen and hark till the end of dark. El sila lumen omen tielvo. The stars shine upon our greeting. Welcome, everybody, to my elvish story time. So, I just said El sila lumen omen tielvo. That is elvish from the Lord of the Rings for the stars shine upon our greeting. Now, today we are going to learn about some Norse mythology, and we use the word mythology tentatively just because there are some people that do believe in it like they believe in religion. So we use that word carefully when we're talking about Norse mythology. But we are going to learn a little bit about the origins of dwarves and some of the stories that we tell today that have their origins in Norse mythology. So if everyone will follow me across the bridge and down to our campfire, I will tell you the majority of the story there. So, in ancient Norse mythology, they tell stories about the dwarves. And dwarves are not what we think of them in Norse mythology. They're not short, squat men with long beards, but they are craftsmen. They're shaped in the form of humans, and they have crafted some of the most wonderful things that the gods in Norse mythology have. Among some of their wonderful crafts was a giant boat that was given to Odin that could be folded up and twisted into a tiny, tiny little square and put inside of your pocket. And as well, the great Thor's great hammer Mjolnir was crafted by the great dwarves of old in Norse mythology. And among their treasures was the great ring, the Andavaranat. This was crafted by the dwarf Andavari, who is known for his wealth. And that is because of his ring, the Andavaranat. Whoever wore it received gold beyond their greatest imagine, and so he had amassed massive piles of gold all around his dwelling. Now, the great god Loki, the trickster god, which we all know from the Marvel Comics, he had a debt to a man named Hramdir. Hramdir had two sons, and they all wanted their money badly. And so Loki, being the crafty god that he was, he captured the Andavari, the great crafter, and he stole his ring and all of his treasures. But Andavari did not let it happen without saying something, for he placed a curse upon the ring, the Andavaranat, so that whomever held it, great horrors befell them, and bad things happened to them in all their doings. And so the ring passed to Loki, and Loki passed it on to Hramdir and his children, Fafnir and Regin. Now, Hramdir didn't share the gold like he was supposed to, and like his children thought he would. And so Fafnir, his son, got incredibly jealous and stood up and struck down his father and stole all of his gold and banished his brother Regin away. In his greed, he became a great red dragon, and he hoarded his gold. He slept on his gold. It became part of his armor as he bathed in it, and he moved in it, and he lived inside of his gold, for he was a jealous and a greedy dragon. Now, uh, Regan would not just let this happen to his family without trying to do something. So he sought out the great warrior Sigurd, a great human hero. Now, he and Sigurd built a new blade that would be magical and would destroy Fafnir. But during its forging, while they were hammering, it shattered on the forge, and it was unable to be completed. But Regan had shards of a magical blade named Helmir, and he took those magical shards and he reforged the blade anew, and it was more powerful and magical than any other blade that had ever been seen, and it was named Gram the Great Sword. And so Gram the Great Sword was gifted to Sigurd the hero, and he went upon the mountain and he slew Fafnir the dragon. He danced around the flames, and when the dragon reared up on his hind legs, Sigurd the hero plunged his sword deep inside of the dragon, and it fell upon the mountain. Now, Sigurd had heard rumors that Regan was planning on betraying him, so he quickly removed the ring from Fafnir, and he took his part of the gold, and he fled. That is the story of Gram, the sword that was reforged. But that's not the end of the story of the Andavaranat, for some say it still is in existence to this day, and no one knows exactly who has it. But whomever has it, terrors befall them throughout all their days. For example, the ring passed to Brynhild, the shield maiden, who Sigurd had deeply loved, and he presented the ring to her as a gift for her hand in marriage, and she took it. But because of the ring's curse, Sigurd accidentally tricked his brother into marrying Brynhild, and so he was unable to have his love. And eventually, illness befell Brynhild and her entire family, and the ring passed on and on and on. Now, that is the story of the Andavaranat and of Gram the Great Sword. But these stories are echoed in other stories that we have today. Has anyone ever heard of The Lord of the Rings or The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien? This is some stuff that we've already talked about up on the hill over there. Now, he took the inspiration for the One Ring in The Lord of the Rings from the Andavaranat, a simple golden ring that was worn by a dwarf and gave him great power, but was cursed. That was taken from the story of the Andavaranat. Also, the story of Smaug, the great dragon that laid upon hordes of gold, that was taken from the story of Fafnir, the great red dragon who was greedy and hid upon the gold. And finally, the story of Anduril, the great sword that was reforged by Aragorn, was taken from the story of Gram, an old Norse story. So, as J.R.R. Tolkien once said, it is important for us to learn mythology and mysticism, no matter whether it's made up like in Lord of the Rings or it's based in history like Norse mythology. So, with that being said, I have one more song for us to sing together, and that will be the end of our story time, although it may be a little bit nerdy of a story time today. Now, I hope that you will all join me for our closing song. This is a song that was written by Bilbo Baggins from The Hobbit, and it's written in The Lord of the Rings. Of course, that means it's actually written by J.R.R. Tolkien. But this is a song about growing old in age and having seen a lot of the world, but knowing that you have never seen it all, nor could you ever see it all. So, this is called I Sit Beside the Fire. I sit beside the fire and think of all that I have seen, of meadow flowers and butterflies in summers that have been, of yellow flowers and gossamer in autumns that there were, with morning mist and silver sun and wind upon my hair. I sit beside the fire and think of how the world will be when winter comes without a spring that I shall never see. For still there are so many things that I have never seen in every wood, in every spring there is a different green. I sit beside the fire and think of people long ago, and people who will see a world that I shall never know. But all the while I sit and think of times that were before, I listen for returning feet and voices at the door. And voices at the door. I hope that I will be hearing your voices at my doorstep very soon for another story time. Thank you all for joining me, and once again, El Sila Lumen Omen Tielvo. Thank you all. Goodbye.